understand and know that this is a person's story. This is a person's home. This was their life that you're selling, that you're marketing, just don't forget about that and to still try to have fun.
Yeah.
This is Spilling the Realty, a podcast by Sold in a Snap.
This episode's Spilling the Realty podcast is sponsored by Sold in a Snap. Sold in a Snap is Central Texas's premier real estate photography and marketing company, helping agents look incredible, stand out from the competition, and grow their business. We provide photos, tours, video, and marketing, everything that you would need to market yourself and your listings with ease. We're leading the world in real estate tech, backed by all 5-star reviews, and we're different on purpose because your success is our mission. Want to save time while your clients and dominate your market? Visit soldinasnap.com and see how Sold in a Snap can elevate your business or your listings today. Hey everybody, welcome to Spilling the Realty, a podcast by Sold in a Snap. Today we are joined by one of our photographers, and I'm so excited to have Kathleen White.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us, Kathleen.
Thanks for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah.
I didn't think this was where I would be today, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, we're excited. We kicked off this podcast, and one of the things that we really want to do is, highlight some of the professionals in realty business, right? So whether that's real estate agents, brokers, or whatever, but also photographers. And, you're one of our photographers here at Sold in a Snap, and we just want to kind of learn a little bit more about you. So let's start from the beginning. So, when did photography start for you? Like, was there a passion when you were a kid, or did it kind of come by a little bit later in life? Tell us a little bit about that story.
So I've been doing photography since my daughter was born, and she turned 15 just a couple days ago. And we were stationed in Japan, and my husband was in the Air Force for a little while. And being there and having her there, I just wanted to remember everything.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where it started. Like, okay, I really need to get a camera because we did not have the technology that we have on smartphones now. It was basically next to nothing. And so I was like, okay, I need to remember our time here. She's only going to be, born once and this little once, and we're only going to be in Japan for so long. And so I actually remember they had like a little marketplace where you could kind of talk to people who lived on base. And I remember selling like a boombox.
Oh, right.
I swear I'm not that old. And I remember selling a boombox and then like a couple other things. And my husband was like, you pay half, I'll pay half. And we got, I want to say it was like a Canon T3i or something. Just, very, And
very basic digital camera.
Yes. But I needed to start somewhere. And so from there, it just grew and grew. I actually did newborn photography.
Wow.
It was terrible, but I did it.
Sure.
And then as she grew up and, as I started to have more kids and we started to travel, it just grew from there. So it actually started from there. And then from there, it grew into, family photography, lifestyle photography. And you're probably going to ask me, ever real estate photography? And
Sure.
It was never actually real estate photography first.
So your equipment, now every photographer kind of has a go-to brand, whether it's Nikon or Canon or, Sony. What did you start with? Where are you at? Do you feel comfortable with a certain type of brand?
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty typical with photographers. I've been Canon ever since the beginning. I feel like I started with it and it's just been with me through so many things. I've used a few different models and I shoot with a Canon now. And so when I started real estate photography and it was with the Canon, I saw the Canon in the gear and I was,
thank goodness. Yeah.
So,
I'm comfortable.
yes.
Yes. Good.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about real estate photography. So you have done this lifestyle stuff, portraits, all these different types of typical photography that we think about. Real estate photography. First of all, like, how did you even hear about the opportunity to come work and do real estate photography?
So I feel like my husband and I have lived like 9 different lives, and it's just not being afraid of doing something different and taking risks and just not being afraid to do something out of the norm. And so he was actually out of a job. So he was just on Indeed and looking at stuff. And I was like, well, why not? You're doing that. I'm going to do that too. And so he he was looking, I was looking, and I randomly just came across the listing for real estate photographer sold in a snap. And I was looking through the responsibilities and all that. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I was like, I can do this. So,
Cool.
and so I just put in my resume. I don't I don't even know. Thanks for seeing something in all of that, but and it just worked out.
Yeah.
I had the interview, and now it's just a part of
Yeah.
everyday life now.
Okay, so let's pump the brakes a little bit. So real estate photography is different, right? So
Yes.
tell me about some of the things that coming in, you were so used to all these other types of things, but the team, the owners, managers, the people that run the show here are very kind of intensive educators when it comes to real estate
I like the
photography.
way you
So
word that,
yeah,
yes.
so tell me about you come in. I mean, did you know anything about real estate photography coming in? Yeah, same here. I didn't know anything. So tell me about that process. Like you come in and you're like during your interview where you're like, I don't know anything about real estate
Yeah.
photography, but I would learn. Or like, how did you land that?
So I really think that if you have a knowledge for photography in the first place and a love for it, then you can blend real estate photography with, more creative lifestyle, more creative photography,
Sure.
right? More emotional photography.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was used to. I was used to capturing all these moments and they're important milestones in people's lives.
Yeah.
And this was totally different. So I was kind of caught off guard. And when I first arrived to training, because I did not know what to expect,
Yeah.
but real estate photography, I'm a creative brain
Yeah.
through and through. Real estate photography is a lot of angles. It's a lot of perspective, finding center and all of that. And so that was probably a real big difference. But the more you do it and the more I started doing it, the more I could be like, okay, I need to be here. This is where I need to be. And you kind of start, to me, I started telling the story of the house.
Yeah.
So, okay, this is not
Oh, cool. I
people,
like that.
but this is someone's home,
Yeah.
So let's tell the story of this home. So once I started looking at it like that, it became more of just okay, I need to get this perspective, this angle. I need to stand right here and do that, which you still do,
Right.
but it becomes more fun and more of like storytelling, which is what I love to do.
Because agents, they hire us to tell the story of the house. And I love how you put that in perspective. It's capturing life events, but this life is of a home that is leaving somebody and going to somebody new.
Mhm.
And it's the beginning
Mhm.
or the end of a story for somebody. So, we are all trained as real estate photographers to take similar pictures. Like within our organization, a lot of times you won't even know who the photographer is because of how significant the training is, right? And they're very intentional on,
Yes.
all right, you're going to do it this way, do
Yeah.
this way. So talk a little bit about that. Going through the training itself, how did that feel? Again, transitioning from all the people and the life and the movement to still photography, very kind of sterile almost. What did the
But
training look like?
Can I be honest?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So the first day I cried in my car, not even gonna lie, mostly because it was what in the heck am I doing?
Yeah.
I have, 3 kids at home. I'm here, Austin is wanting me to do this and I'm not doing that and it's just terrible and I'm terrible. And then something flips. And I think the more training, the more I realize they just are wanting us to learn
Yeah.
and we all learn differently. And so they just were so patient with me and just getting the information, the knowledge, and the practice that you need to be a good real estate photography because, like you said, it is different from just maybe lifestyle or other kinds of photography. It's very different, and I don't feel like everybody can do it because it's a different you have to kinda train your brain and to see things a little bit differently.
So
But I don't cry in my car anymore, so.
That's good. It's neat because, Soul in the Staff is very intentional on, the training in itself. And so you have Danielle, you have Austin, and they're the primary trainers, but they're two very different people,
Mhm.
and Danielle is very soft spoken. She's very kind. And then Austin is like business, like very smart, very intelligent, knows the camera super well. Daniel also knows the camera very well, but he's like, all right, well, do this way. And I remember training with them and just being like so intimidated by Austin because he was like just such a he's a bigger guy and former police officer, and I remember being anxious, and tell me about like one of your favorite shoots, maybe during your training, like something that was a breakthrough that you felt like, oh, I think I can do this. Like, I don't know, what did that look like?
First, I just want to say that you have to have that balance, I feel like, in any kind of relationship, whether it's business, whether it's marriage, whether it's anything, having that balance of like, how you said he's not big and scary, but it's because he's not big and scary at all.
Yeah.
And just having someone who is more like, okay, we're going to do like more systematic approach. And then one that is more like, kind of free thinking, free spirit, because that's kind of how my husband and I work too.
Yeah.
And it works because it's balanced and you guys take up the slack where someone else may not have that strength. It works because once I had the training from both of them, I feel like the more I started doing it, the more shoots I had. There was one shoot in particular, I believe it was a Twilight shoot. And like, he didn't really have to he just was kind of there just in case I had a question. And then I interacted with the agent afterward and I was like, okay, like I can do this. And the minute he was like, I think you're good to go on your own.
Yeah.
So I
Cool.
feel like just gaining that confidence, which just comes from doing a lot.
It's repetition, right? Yeah. That's a cool moment though. Like, as a trainer, at some point in time, you get to step back and watch the apprentice thrive. And what a cool moment probably for them too.
Yeah.
To see like, I think we did it. We did it. Look,
Yeah.
our hands are not touching the camera or, and so that's a cool moment. And not a lot of people know, we do a lot of drone photography, like almost probably at least 60-70% of my shoots, I think, include drone photography. Had you ever flown a drone before?
Yes.
Oh, you had?
So I had.
Okay.
Not one nearly as big as the one that we use. It was like a little tiny DJI one. But I had flown it before. Mostly just my family and I RV'd for almost 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Full time. And so I wanted to, again, most of my passion for photography and like using the drone just comes from wanting to document everything. So sometimes that annoys my family. Sometimes when you look back, they're like, oh, I forgot about that. And I'm like, see, that's why I do that. And so, yeah, I've flown a drone before, just not one.
So you come in a little bit experience with the drone.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now we're like actually taking professional house pictures with drones.
Yes.
Something flying in the air with a camera. How did that go? So a lot of people don't know, like you can't just willy-nilly fly a drone for real estate photography. There's more to it. Like you legally have to get a license. So tell me about the process. Like you go through training, right? For the drone. Tell us about that.
So you have to get your Part 107 drone license to be able to do anything commercially or to just make money or do anything like that from with the drone.
Yeah.
And what's funny is as you're going through the course, you're learning so many things that by the end of it, the instructor is like, okay, so now you're ready to become a pilot, like an actual pilot flying airplanes. And I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But it is very intense. And I don't think a lot of people understand how much studying and how much you have to know just to put a drone in the air. There are also times when I've had times where people have come out of their houses like, what are you doing? I've also had times where I was like doing a land shoot the other day and someone came and said, "That's so cool." So it's just people have different knowledge of like what a drone is, what it can do, and
the exam itself had finished my like doctorate, and when I went to start studying to fly the drone, I was like, this drone exam is literally the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Like I just finished a doctorate, and the test that you have to go through to fly a drone legally is intense, and so it's such a huge moment when any of our photographers pass that drone exam.
A lot. And then when you get your little, you have a card that you get to carry with you.
From the FAA.
And my husband, you're like, she's a licensed drone pilot. Yes, I am.
Yeah. My wife was like, hey, Pilot Johnson.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yes. That's cool.
Yeah.
So drone photography is a big part of our work as well. Is there a piece that you love most? Like whenever you get an assignment to do a house, Is there anything that you look in there, you're like, oh my gosh, I got, this, I get to shoot this today. Like, is there anything like that?
I love drones. So I love being able to use the drone, and I like making reels. So anytime that I see a reel, I really enjoy making reels. But sometimes, honestly, you won't know until you get there because sometimes the houses just have like just different charm or different things that were unexpected or good and bad sometimes. And so sometimes you don't know until you get to the house. And
Yeah.
that's what I love. That every day, every shoot, everything is different.
Yeah. That's neat because houses are so different. And even houses that are in, a neighborhood that maybe are built the same also feel very different.
Oh
Like
yeah.
once you step in that
Totally.
front door.
Mhm.
So you never know what you're going to see, what you're going to get.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. Like I said, sometimes it's good. Sometimes like, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any any stories of interesting that happened on a shoot that you're like, oh my gosh, like I cannot wait to tell people about this?
So I did have this one house where the agent was there and he was like, "Oh, this is a very unique feature." And I was like, "Okay, like let me see it." And he walks into the closet. Okay. And he opens like a whole like there's
Latch.
a latch. Like it was locked and it had a sign on it that was like
Oh my
do not
gosh.
unlock. And it like he lifted the latch and he said he went down there. I did not go down there.
You're like,
It was
this is the end.
he said it was a storm cellar, so we're just gonna
Oh my gosh.
there.
So did
So,
he
yeah.
wanted you to take pictures down there?
No, and if he did, I probably been like, "Hey, we don't do that." We don't have storm cellar listed
Well,
on our product sheet.
it's a good thing we have tracking on all of our equipment. So
Yeah.
if you went missing,
Yeah.
you at least kind of know generally where you were.
Yeah, and so
Gosh,
yeah,
that's
but he just kept calling
crazy.
it a unique feature,
A
so
unique feature.
mhm.
Sure. Wow. That's incredible. Well, cool. I mean, like, so you've been, with us for what, about a year or so now. And is there at some point in time is like there a house that you get bored with or like a shoot that you get bored with? Or is there anything that, you feel like, oh man, I have to do another one of those?
That could be a loaded question, but no, a house that I get bored with, I don't think so. Mostly, it's not really bored, it's just like, okay, I've done this a lot, and it's just maybe new build houses in the
Yeah.
newer residential areas, but with that being said, I've done it so much that it kind of is, it's kind of like muscle memory.
And kind of a blessing in disguise. Like
Yes.
when you have a new house that's empty, like you can just pop through that
Yes.
thing so
And then
quickly.
sometimes the agents will be like, "You're done?" Like,
So
yeah.
for our listeners, like tell me what would a difference between a shoot for a new build
Mhm.
or an empty house versus like a house that's full? Like how does a photographer approach those two types of houses? Like something.
So with an empty house, you have, like was talking about telling a story. You don't really have anything there, right? It's just walls. And so you have to try to portray that new build and give it as much life as you
Yeah.
possibly can. But on that other sense, on the other side of that, it's also much easier because you're not moving around furniture. You're not having to worry about if something is in the shot that maybe doesn't make the shot look the greatest or things like that. It's just kind of boom, boom, boom,
Right. Yeah.
done. When there's things in the house, it gives it character and it helps tell that story.
Yeah.
You just have to it becomes a little bit more difficult finding the correct, finding where you should be to make that shot look the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah, that's interesting because like, there might be like a lamp in the corner that you want to be in the corner,
Mhm.
and you're like,
Yes, or like a
that
plant and you're like crawling over the plants or
yeah.
just like being in the
Yeah.
plant. Yeah.
Because we're like ultimately we're trying to open up the space as much as possible.
Exactly.
We want to give the buyers a full picture of a room,
Mhm.
and when it's lived in, it's a little bit tough because there might be like corners and cracks that you can't
Yeah.
get into, and so and also I know sometimes furniture will take some space
Mhm.
that you can't necessarily account for. Like, okay, well, this
Yeah.
is this is here, but if I kind of push back, I can see the bigger part of the room or something. So,
Mhm.
that's cool. Have you ever had a house that did have all the stuff in there that you were just like, oh my gosh, these people have lived such a interesting life. Like they've traveled all over the world and they've seen all these things, and you just mesmerized by what's in the
Yeah,
house.
there has actually been a few houses out here in Texas. There's a lot there have been a couple houses, and one in particular where I told her that her house is like a museum. I told her it was beautiful, and she told me that she had an architect actually, design it. It was a while back, but you could tell that there was intention and there was just a story on literally every inch of the
Wow.
house. And there you could just tell there was collections of things. There was just it was wild, but it was beautiful. And every single like you could walk through that house and you could still be in there like 30 minutes just looking at everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Also, like, one thing that sometimes people don't account for, like in Texas, especially, is
Mhm.
there's like massive properties, like,
Yes.
hundreds of acres that
Mhm.
we have to capture.
Mhm.
Like, how would you capture like something so big? Like, what's a strategy when you want, like, there's a pond on the property at the backside, there's this, you know, apple orchard, and then you have the house itself.
Yeah.
Like, you only have so much time, but you have to capture all this stuff. Like, what's the best way to do that? How do you get all of that and be able to tell the story of this property?
I think just making sure you're getting the house from just like how people have different perspectives and different,
Yeah.
views. Getting the house from all those different perspectives, all those different views. Maybe you come in closer when you want to focus on a really cool feature of that house or that property, and then you get one that you can see the big picture of the whole house. So that's where the drone
Yeah.
comes in a lot
Yeah.
with these big, large properties because there's really no other way
Yeah.
to do that sometimes.
Yeah. So we have these opportunities to do different types of services for realtors, homeowners, and stuff. You mentioned that you really love, like, doing reels.
Yeah.
Like, what is it about reels that kind of make you feel like you're giving a different types of presentation to a house? Like, tell us about that.
So a lot of times it's hard to tell from one photo what a house really feels like.
Yeah.
And I know in the process of us buying homes in the past, you don't know until you have like either stepped foot in it or maybe felt what that house
Yeah.
is like, experience the house,
Sure.
not just in a photograph. So there's lots of things that a photograph can tell, but video, it's a lot easier to actually imagine yourself in that space. And so being able to see the flow of the rooms and how the home is laid out and maybe different features and stuff like that. So it's a really cool way to just showcase what makes that house special.
Yeah, and I think this is where, photography, or real estate photography in general, has kind of come a long way, where it's not just like, hey, here's a picture of a
Yeah.
house, you should come take a look at it. It's
Mhm.
like, let's showcase this gorgeous property, and let's use every medium possible to do it.
Yeah,
Whether
it's
that's
so
in the air,
Mhm.
still pictures. We do drone video also, where
Mhm.
we can kind of come in on a property and show the
That's my
flow.
absolute
I
favorite.
love that. I love that. Right. And Reels is such a cool way to say, like, hey, look, there is so much more than what this still picture is telling you.
Exactly.
And it shows that flow of that home, kind of like you were saying. And I agree with you in that getting different perspectives of what a property looks like
Yeah.
is like the realtor. And I actually think that is one of the number one things that will sell a house. If you can get all those beautiful pictures, great. If you can get a reel, it tells that, like, flow of the story. Like, hey, I'm coming in home from work and I'm going to go through this door, and
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the kitchen, and like, this is what's going to happen. I think that it tells a different story. So that's cool. I also really enjoy the reels part of it. It gives again, a different vibe for what the house is. And also, it's kind of a true kind of representation of what the house looks like too.
Exactly. And I feel like video is just it's fun. I love doing video, but I also feel like that's just where we are now with social media and things like that, that if you're not trying to use that, use the video, use the reels to try to market your house or,
Yeah.
with anything, then you're really missing out on a lot
Yeah.
because social media is so huge.
Yeah. And one thing with Soul and the Snap, we have opportunity to, buy as much as you want or buy as
Yeah.
little as you want. And
Yep.
you can always add to certain things with different add-ons and whatnot. So that's always kind of a cool option if you're like, hey, you know what? I want to just get a few pictures of the house, but I really want to highlight the property. So let's do more video.
Right, and it
You
won't
know?
be every time that,
Yeah.
a reel is needed or even wanted. Some might
Yeah.
not even think it's necessary for the specific
No.
property, but I just like doing it.
Yeah. So we're getting close to the end of the podcast, and I wanted to kind of give you the last say on stuff. What advice would you give realtors, or some takeaway that maybe you could kind of give them, before we close out?
So I did talk about the importance of social media and video and all that. But maybe also just to have fun. Being a realtor, I know is a very stressful job and it's very taxing. You're going a million different directions for your clients. You're driving all over the place. So it can become stressful. I think to just have fun with it. And like I said, just understand and know that this is a person's story. This is a person's home. This was their life that that you're selling, that you're marketing. Just don't forget about that and to still try to have fun
Yeah.
with what you're
Yeah,
doing.
I completely agree. And, honestly, the more that you do it, the more comfortable you get with it, and I think in real estate in general, everything's going to be different, but that doesn't mean you can't take all those experiences
I
and
just
kind
enjoy
of give
it.
them to the, yeah, awesome. Kathleen, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
This is fun.
Yeah, this was so great. And I really appreciate you. You guys, Kathleen, she serves in Temple here in Central Texas. So if you guys are looking to sell a house, buy a house, whatever,
Mhm.
hit us up, and we'd love to get you on the books with her. Our website is soulnthesnap.com, and you'll find her there for your next book. So thanks again, Kathleen, and thank you guys for tuning in. We want to invite you to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
And that's today's pour. Thanks for spilling the real tea with us. Don't forget to follow the podcast so you don't miss the next hot pour of real estate talk. And remember, this is just the tea, not legal, real estate, or financial advice.